Welcome to All Things for Good, a podcast for mental health professionals who are also individuals of faith. We hope that you gain insight into other specialties, identify some resources for collaboration or consultation, and feel welcome in the discussion. If you have a topic request or would like to be a guest, you can email us at allthingsforgoodpod@gmail.com. And please remember to like, share, download, give us those 5 stars so we can keep bringing you new episodes. We hope you enjoy. Welcome back to All Things for Good. I am really excited to have Claudia here with us today. Claudia, would you take a second and introduce yourself?
Sure, thank you. I'm very happy to be here too. So, my name is Claudia Cattaneo Auxier. You may know this, like, what is that? I'm a child of God and born and raised in Argentina. So, that's where it's coming. In Argentina, I feel like I have, as an immigrant, have different life. Out there, I was working in the airline industry. I was a trainer for trainers, licensed in business PR. And then I came here. And when I went through PRE and postpartum depression, I went to therapy for first time. And it's like, wow, I want to be that person who's helping somebody else. And that got me back to grad school to do my master's degree in psychology. And I'm a marriage and family therapist in California, professional clinical counselor, and then I specialize more in my therapy was always in Spanish. So sorry, or Spanglish, I should say, because
Spanglish.
I work with the first generation of immigrants like me. So my grad school was in English, all the terms are in English, and here I am speaking Spanish. So I always say, sorry, this is California. This is California, we believe in Spanglish. So, and that's how it goes. And I love the population I work with, and they have the same issues like me too. It's a journey. So that's pretty much me. I born and raised in the church, also third generation, which seems like in South America is not very
Mm.
common. And yet, I love to say yes, I'm third generation. But then I came here and I feel like I'm a convert because of the cultural lens of each area. And well, we can explore that a little bit more later. But I'm both.
I love it.
Your energy is just infectious. Today
Oh,
is going
thank
to
you.
be a fun day, I can tell. But you're presenting at the LDS Capra Fall Conference. Do you know
Mhm.
if you're presenting which day, Thursday or Friday?
Woo, you're killing me. I don't remember. I know I'm
Okay,
going to Salt Lake to visit some friends ahead of time, just in case there's any issue with the flight.
nice.
So I don't remember. I think it's the second day, the round table days. And I know there's so many good options. Oh my, I read the schedule and said, I want to go there too.
Right.
It's like, how can I do this?
You get
Yeah.
to choose. Wonderful.
Yes, it is. Is there any way we can ask for a double dip and have like
There's got to be a way.
record it so I can see my companions there, my neighbors?
And you're presenting on integration
Oh,
and unity, is that correct?
yes, correct. It's towards integration and unity. And that's a funny story. Like all Latinos, if you work with Latinos, you ask one question and it's never a yes, no. There's a story behind. And the story behind is I thought like, yes, towards integration and unity. And I wanted to say through intrinsic religiosity. And then I have this na it's like, is it intrinsic religion? What is that? Of course, there's, intrinsic religiosity. It's a concept that came from Tilmark. And well, there's a lot. I don't want to go to the theologies. And like, no, Claudia, this is psychology. This is not church. We're not here to judge why people is going to church. It's not if you go for extrinsic reasons like socialize or within you. So it's like, yeah, but I think it's important if a person came with a faith crisis to review that. What are your expectations? So that's why I changed the name. And thanks to you, Sarah, the secretary who allows me to change the topic after I submit it through the gospel of Jesucristo. So I wanted to live because for me, it's my relation. I met Jesus Christ as Jesucristo and Heavenly Father as Nuestro Padre Celestial. So I want to highlight that in a way. And in that way, it's like, it's about the relationship. It's not only the reason that for me was more reflecting about what is that for me? How does it look like? In what language? How did you learn that? So that is towards integration and unity through the gospel of Jesucristo. Again, Spanglish right there from my 20 years in California, imprinted in the title too.
I see how much of yourself you're bringing to this. I think it's really awesome to be able to share so much of your own personal journey and then turn around and help others who are doing the same, and to find joy and energy in that, and to have that be something that you then bring to others. And I see that's what you're doing as you're here at the podcast, as you're here, as you're a presenter, is highlighting this journey that you have personally taken and you're helping others to take, and that others need to know the complexities of working.
I feel very blessed and privileged. Not everybody, again, the migration, it's an issue. It's not an issue. It is something that a lot of time we oversee. So I feel privileged to be able to give a voice to people that may not be able to learning. I still have an accent, and it's like, oh, to put subtitles so people can understand me. With my accent.
Caption the podcast.
If they got me. But the thing is, I have the privilege and the blessing to be able to give a voice to people who are right here older or may not have. Just another story here. I hate, and this is a strong word, I get it. I hate English all my life. So growing up in a small town in the suburbs in Buenos Aires, you didn't see tourists. Buenos Aires main capital, the main city, of course, but all my friends after school, they went to play. This is pre-cell phone, right? Let's put it in the timeline. This is before internet was a thing. So everybody biking, in the 80s, in the 90s, and here I am going to private English classes on top of my classes at school. And my mom was very firm. One day you will thank me, like, forget it. I'm not. and now I am, because I met my husband in Argentina. And then when we came here, I already knew some English. So for me, actually I was an English teacher. I thought I knew English until I came here, and I have a British I have a British accent, and people speak quite fast that I was used to in the classroom. So I think that helped me to go to the master degree in English in my second language, and it was easier. And also have already my degree there. I think it will be quite impossible or very hard to reach a degree of education in a second language at my age when I came. So I feel that I have, again, the privilege and the blessings to give to all this population, all the people who came in the 20s, in their 30s, and sometimes 40s. And it's like, okay, this is what they're going to. I get it. And let me help other, therapists to understand it's not just you move places. There's more in that luggage.
How long have you been in the United States, Claudia?
I'm turning 20 this year.
Woohoo! We're going to have a party. Everybody party.
Yes, absolutely.
Claudia's house.
Absolutely. Come over to California, Northern California. You have San Francisco, San Jose airport's close by. Come over in November. And it was a reflection moment. I'm turning 20 and people's like, what? 20 years here. So it's a moment to reflect. Yeah. I feel like a teenager, like recalculating what I want to do, what is going to be my life now on. I'm 20 here. And I feel now I have issues saying I'm from Argentina. I have okay, I am from Argentina that many years, and I'm 20 years influencing California, Northern California. Not all United States is the same. So I have the privilege to also work for airlines. And with the airlines, it came free tickets. And so actually, that's why I say my interview. I want to work here because I want free tickets. And I miss that. It's very painful to pay for tickets now. But anyways, but that gave me the chance to visit different places, different countries, different cultures within US, different states, where the culture of the church, every time we go, is different. It's like, wow, it's the same dogma. It's the same faith. We all learn the same songs, hymns, and scriptures. How is people understanding in so many different ways, and how the culture influenced that points of view? It's fantastic. Yeah.
I imagine that experience of traveling to all of those different places really comes in to play in the work that you do.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. It is very humbling. And actually, I think I'm going to coin this because I was, trying to, I don't know, in my program, we always talk about cultural competence versus cultural humility and how the therapist should have, of course, you need to know the background, if you're going to work with Latino or immigrant, or I had people from here too. And I had to say, okay, where did you grow up? California in the north or in the south or in Utah? It's different than New York and Idaho. So on that, for me, I like to have this cultural humility lens and ask, how was for you? And also the religious humility lens. And that's how I call it. I name it like that. I don't know if it exists, but when I was Googling, like, I'm not saying that the way I understand is better than yours, but I'm curious, how was for you? Again, I was born and raised in Argentina, where my grandfathers, they moved to open a branch. And that branch became a word, and that word started chopping, chopping, chopping. Now it's a steak, and that steak divided. So when I went to church, I was the grandparent of Serini or Cattaneo. Oh yeah, you're the daughter of so and so. You're the grandkid. And then I came here. Nobody knows me. Nobody knows me, and not just that they can hardly say my name. So I'm like, whoa. And when you see the chance of dechurching, stop going to church, is right when you move or when you don't feel belong. So it's like, wow, that is very interesting. So that will be a point where I could have absolutely, fall out or question what I'm doing here. I don't belong. And in a way, I love be able to see the gospel in a different lens. How it's here and how people live it. And I feel so much love from everybody, in my Latino world, in my English world. And I love it. And I want people to celebrate that. That's why I always came with okay, you're born in the church. Perfect. How was that for you? Because I'm a Latino. And people, when I remember, I say, hey, I'm thinking about going back to school. Oh, are you going for your GED? Like, what do you mean GED? Like, no, I was studying a postgrad school in Argentina. It's not that and I'm a wear and weight presenter. So lots of people ask me, where did you learn Spanish? I was like, well, it's my language. Like, everywhere. So I think there's a lot of bias that we have within us. Of course, we all have bias, but just to bring the awareness that within the church, as a therapist, we may assume that the other one experienced the same way of church that I did. So that's something that I would like to bring in the roundtable. Guys, guys, that is from California, right? Like, you all will be from Texas, but how did you experience when you have a person with a faith crisis? Or how is, marriage? What is faith? It's so interesting. Faith is, our first principles in the gospel. And yet I never hear so many definitions. Like, wow, I love it. So learning from the other one, even the basic that we assume the other person had the same experience. I think at this point you'll be, what is this person doing in therapy? I get paid to listen. Yes, I love to talk, as you may notice.
I love your term though of cultural humility and coming in with just that curiosity of how have you experienced this? What has it been like for you? Do you find that your clients, and maybe culturally, they also talk a lot? Is talking quite a bit of
Yes,
Latino. So do
yes,
you find
yes,
that
yes.
comes in and they'll just open up, or do you find that there's a little bit of hesitation opening up and talking about their experience?
Well, here's the thing. I have a more easier rapport in Spanish, of course, and I do Spanish. And I'm used to that in the point that I work with bishops and it's okay, they have, yeah. But let me tell you, my way of working with Latinos is different. I don't do usually 1 hour, 45, 50 minute session per week. I go calculate like 2 to 3 hours. And they will see if they need, of course, we're within the 10, 12 sessions. And yet it's less because what I found is people start talking. and talking, kind of stop talking. So I cannot destroy that rapport. Say, oh yeah, it's very important, but it's for 15 minutes. I'm so sorry. That's not the Latino way. We have food, we talk, with story after another one, and they are rich in information. They may think that they are talking about the mom and dad, and for my head, of course, as a therapy, I'm thinking about attachment, trauma, how did you came. It's not just the story how you came, but I analyzing how many things you lose. I love, like, you may think, oh, I always make jokes that I lost my free ticket when I came here. I lost my culture, my language, my degree didn't transfer very well here. I was in PR. Like, imagine me communicating, like, no way, Jose. Remember, I didn't like English. I'm not going to be doing this in English. And here I am speaking in English. So it's a kind of Heavenly Father had the humor there. But I learned to love English now, at the point that I want to transfer some grammars to Spanish, like creating your own word. I love that. So, but there's so much richness in those stories, and I love to be flexible with time also. And the Latinos, we like to talk. I felt like more resistance in English. I'm not used to yes no answers or one liners. It's like interesting. Now what? This is going forever, and it's just minute 5. Like, oh, what do I do here? But yeah, I love working with Latinos. Again, I am also aware. Like, I'm one presenter, but I'm Argentine, and I make jokes of my own culture. Like, Argentinos are well known for how, not everybody, of course, but within the Latino population, the joke is how proud the Argentines are, that they know everything. They will teach you. So I start with the joke. I'm Argentine and I don't know. I have a master's degree in psychology. Yes, but you are the master of your own life. So I don't know your life. So we're going to talk about this. And that's like yesterday I have a 3 hours therapy session, and I really enjoy it, and even energized me even more than this. So imagine, like, I was like 8 point, but yeah, it's the flexibility according to the culture, and they will play from there. I'm more like, okay, what makes you? This is your time, and we do as you want.
How would you help others who are not immigrants, but who are therapists, work with the population that you serve and love? What would you want them to know?
Oh my, this is quite hard. I would say first, when you listen, and I was working on a book. I am still working. I'm waiting for my editor, actually. I need an editor, if you know any editor. But yeah, it goes to Spanglish, my book. But I start drawing. It's funny because one of my not yet pursued careers is art. But I start drawing a backpack. Like, I want to do this book about from immigrant to immigrant is going to be the name, hopefully. And I start drawing a backpack. And when I show to people, does it look like a backpack of an immigrant? Say, no, that's too fancy. And I was realizing, oh, because I came by plane. Buenos Aires is like 24 hours by plane. So of course I came by plane. So I start doing another backpack. I say, no, I treat immigrants with a bag or with nothing. With nothing. I say, you're right. But then I don't want to lock myself into every single immigrant came running through the border. Yes, there's a lot who does. And there's a lot of trauma there. They're escaping a situation that is no longer, it's my life, or I go somewhere else. So I go somewhere else. So there is that population. But there's also a population that came with a working visa. I'm in Silicon Valley and working in IT, but not the IT that everybody think. I work with intergenerational trauma. And in what I found is that the trauma, of course, it came in that backpack or carry on with wheels. It's not because you came with the carry on with 360 wheels, you have no trauma. So if I had to talk with a therapist, always think that person when you immigrate, even if you came with the best, I don't know, work agreement, and you're losing your place of origin, language, culture, holidays, food, meal, smells, seasons. Like imagine, of course, I'm in California, it's pretty much a whole year the same, and I love it. I'm not saying anything wrong. I love the California weather. But for me, Christmas was summer with the jasmine smell, and we don't have that here. I actually love to go to Utah for a Christmas with snow. Couple of days because I'm cold. So I like, I miss my California, my 20 years in California weather. So there's a lot of laws that are unseen and overseen. And even the church, the way you go to church, you may have a leader, a bishop, a stake president, and then you come here. And when I found also there's like, oh wow, well, it's going to be the greeting person at the door. It's like, yeah, but you're missing so much. It's not that there's more important or less important callings, but and on top of that, a lot of time the immigrant I feel overseen, like, oh, you don't know. Let me explain you. And it's very important to help the other person to integrate to the society, to explain some concept. It's important to be on time. For instance, here in the Latino world, good luck with an activity starting on time. So don't even think, I mean, you can go on time. You're going to be helping opening the church, most likely. Not always, but most likely my experience, 99% of the time, I'm helping put in the chairs if I'm on time. So yeah, so be flexible with the time also for sessions. The person may think, oh, if I start 10 minutes later, I'm going to finish 10 minutes later. It's like, no. So be clear in the intake. Hey, this is going to be, whatever time. If you don't calculate ahead of time, we're going to finish at 5 no matter what. So it's not that you can come 4:30 expecting to finish 5:30. So little details of that, I will say, pay attention to that and listen to their story. How was for that person in their own country? The social hierarchy, that there is a social hierarchy at work or society speaking, they well know that family also get lost. So there is a lot of the positions and things, again, that you don't see, but in the loss, there's a mourning process. And I always ask, how was your parent? How did they do this? How did they disciple you? How did they discipline,
Yeah.
How did your good luck with the positive parenting? Most like, of course, with the chancla or with the belt or with the. So don't, they're like, oh my gosh, I have to do a CPS report. No, you don't. I mean, first, because it's not here and now. But besides that, try to act like that is the most common thing that happened. Because for the person, then you put it against your own parents and you're not, as if culture with family as a strong value, how dare you to say something bad about your own mom or dad? You're not going to do it. So you don't want to start thinking that the therapist is to show you how bad your mom is. Of course, I don't think any therapy will do that, especially in the first session. But even those mirrors, like, interesting, wow, must, how is for you? How is now that you have to parent your kid and you cannot use the belt? Like the most common thing. It was interesting because with me, a lot of, you know how it is. You know how it is. Like they don't need to explain me. But I need to be clarified that here is illegal. It can get you in trouble. We can talk with all the theories and the research that show how it's important not to beat your child, but for the person, that's what they know. So for the person, it's like, how can I parent if I don't have my belt? And it's a very good question. Let's explore together. Let's see how, again, we're trying to get into that person's world and not to, okay, this is already a stigma to go to therapy. So the first thing is like, no, you're not crazy. Maybe you are, but if you are, it's okay. There's a population, people who is, atypical, it's very unique. But, everything that helps to build rapport and make the person welcome, because you want that person coming next week. Otherwise, your treatment plan is gone. There's no help there.
That was really helpful. Thank you.
Does it make sense? I know I talk a lot, but
what I heard for sure is approach it with curiosity. Let them be the expert of their life and let them let you in, and approach with respect, with humility, to just see what it's like. And then knowing what it's like on here, help them to see where there might be issues, whether it be parenting
Yeah,
issues or time issues, or help them to see the differences and where because they probably don't know where adaptation is necessary to keep themselves out of trouble, whether
absolutely.
it be lateness
Uh,
or whatever.
yeah,
So
and the cultural expectation, the cultural inheritance, that person move is here, but the person think is still in somewhere else. Lots of time I see like, oh, you're physically here. Like I have a couple that I love, and they're like, look at that. I came from work and she didn't have the whole house clean or cooked. The food was not on the table. It's like, okay. Where does the idea came from, and we know, of course, it's very common, and that is a cultural expectation. That once you cross the border, you cross the equator, now let's talk about this. How is it here? You're both working. What about sharing these house chores, things that you have to do around the house? And for him, it's like, does it make you less of a man? It's like, of course you didn't like it, and suddenly you're saying what you learn all your life, what you perceive of your life is not that way. So you have to be very sensitive of how you say it. And if you're talking in Spanish, because you learned Spanish from, I don't know, your mission, you served your mission years ago, and now be also aware that you may have a accent in Spanish, and each country has their own Spanish. So a word that if you serve somewhere where that word doesn't, like, what are you saying? Just don't be afraid of question. Ask. Yes. Like, sorry, maybe it's a new word for me, or even the word that like, what is that for you? Again.
That willingness to have the curiosity and ask the question. I feel like sometimes I find myself hesitant to broach tricky topics. I don't want to accidentally insult or appear
Okay.
ignorant, but at the same time, I want to be respectful and understanding. And so just the permission of ask the question. That's a new word for me. Help me understand.
I
What was that like for you?
actually, thank you for sharing that. Have a hot moment. Because so my husband is from here, northern Mexico, California. Maybe a joke that he can say, but he was born and raised here. So I was asked question. And the moment we're like, can you stop asking? Like, I'm never going to stop asking because I'm trying to understand. It's like, hold on a second, let me put my therapist hat. What does it mean for you? How do you feel when I ask you a question? I feel like, you treat me like if I don't know. Never thought about that option. I just hear, you say, oh, I don't want to. But again, that is in California, in California, I noticed there's a lot of politically correctness. People's very nice and kind. And I came from a culture, it's more like, I will say New York here, like in your face. Italian background, Argentina, it's Italian and Spaniard. It's a heavy population of immigrants in this after the World War II. So, and I'm there, and when you go to Europe, I'm like, they're very direct. I'm not used to that directness anymore because I'm living the last 20 years in California. And when I go to Argentina, I'm not used to that anymore neither. Like, in your face, laugh. So for me, for first time, I understand that maybe for the other person, a question can be, so what I do to resolve that now is let me, are you allowing me? Are you giving me the permission to ask you a question? It's on me, out of my curiosity. It's not that nothing wrong with you. It's not that you're a bad communicator or anything like that, but it's just me. Half of the time I can, blame it to my language. It's like I speak Spanish, but the Spanish from Argentina is different than other different accent and different words. And I have a long list of words that I won't say for another episode maybe, but I blame it on me. I have no problem because I really want to understand and see the person with rational compassion. It's not that, and I always say, look, my journey as an immigrant, and I am aware that a lot of people got discriminated. I make a whole paper how I feel more discriminated in my hometown, in the suburbs of Buenos Aires than here in California. I was never discriminated. And here, the time that I was discriminated was by other Latinos that they thought I didn't know Spanish. And so they speak in Spanish between them. It's like, oh, this American one doesn't know anything. Like, oh, yeah, actually, that's right. I'm Argentine and I don't know. Wow, in Spanish, right? So it was very interesting. to know this, that different of what a question means from one culture versus the other one. So just ask permission. It's okay if I ask you.
I like that. Ask permission.
No.
I have one more question that might be a long
Yeah.
one. Where I
Welcome to the
practice,
club.
I'm next to a military base. I'm next to an IRS facility. I'm next to a couple other big government things.
The
So
most loving ones.
yes. So the current climate in America is really affecting the mental health of my clients because
yes,
they're involved in all of that. Do you see similar things happening with your clientele, where the climate where we're currently at is affecting their mental health, and how does that play into your work?
absolutely. Short answer, yes. Period. Can leave it there. So I am in California. Here we have rates. And I have people who's like, I'm not going anywhere. And I get it. I get it. I was also working in a nonprofit with Latino population, and people didn't want to bring their kids to school. So, and even at church, we have our beloved brothers and sisters who are like, I'm afraid of going. What if, with the best of intention, you go to church and then you have eyes there and they take me, and we talk a lot about preparation, about, okay, if something happened, these are your steps that will help lower your anxiety. It doesn't matter that something bad can happen to good people. Period. It's not, and it's hard to digest.
Yeah.
But now, here's the thing. I came from an Argentine. My experience, I grew up in the 80s, 90s. My parents' experience was in the military government where people were disappearing in the 70s. I was born in 78. So they were stopped by the police in Argentina, being Argentines. So you're not a Latino in your own country. You have all your right to be there. And it's not that you don't have the right to be there, but just the position in the 70s, being an Argentine or anybody, they did not discriminate. They stopped everybody. And they took family members just because your name was in somewhere else notebook back before cell phones. This is before cell phone things are writing. So we never had a problem. My mom worked in the airline too. So back there, she has a credential from the government. So she always feels safe. However, in general, I feel like that. I was raised like, be careful. Always have your ID with you. So how unlock the doors just in case somebody enters your house. So when I came here in California, even with race, even with that, I get it. Because I still lock the door. And I couldn't even sleep the first couple of, it's like still in my husband, but that window doesn't have a bar, one single bar. Why there's no more bars here? How can you put the window next to a door? Anybody can open it. So I asked to put extra locks. Now it's in my head. Again, I was here and I still feel emotionally. I was living in Argentina. My trauma came in that luggage, came in that carry-on fancy, lovely airplane luggage, but my trauma came there too. And I still had it. So something that came from there is resilience. And we don't talk about that. But most of South America and Latino countries, you came with a police, people in general don't trust the police. Sad to say. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. It's just the reality in my experience. And even in my own country, people just don't trust because of the experience they have. The parents, it was transmitted through the way of how they parent. So, but they are resilient. They know to go back. I know something bad can happen. I cannot trust anybody. And yet here I am. And it's a very strong skill to have. They are survivors. Lots of time there's like, oh, poor immigrant. Oh no, careful. But like no. I did not grow up in the crystal box in Argentina. I have my traumas. I had to run so people don't rob me. I work at night, so I have my air spray, and for me it was normal. Now I thinking about that, and it's crazy, right? I'm taking my kids there, and it's like, why everybody has so many locks in the doors? Why everybody has bars? Do they have birds inside the house? So I never thought about that. it's like trying to explain a kid what the long play is. Oh, it's like a CD, but black and big. It's, trying to explain something from something new. It's weird for me. And it was, ooh, interesting. And I'm so glad you don't know what it is and why people do it. But you have to understand that around here, people have different way of living, and people in desperation may try to take something from you, even though it's bad. Or very blessed that we have, so many blessings, but it's complicated to explain to a kid. But what they see in the immigrant is that resilience, and that then you come here and everything is easier. So let's not forget that they are very survival. I'm not saying the life is to survive, it's to enjoy and have joy, but those skills are there in case it's needed. And sometimes it's the other way around, like, hey, you don't need to be surviving anymore. Let's enjoy. Let's relax a little bit here.
What a beautiful highlight of the skill, the resilience, the fighting, they're not fragile dolls, right? It's just
We're not.
a really cool
We're
cultural
not. Yeah.
resilience. Great.
Yeah. Yeah. Did it answer your question?
Yes. Yeah.
Because it did affect. It does affect. And it doesn't mean that it's less affect. Of course, it changes if you have papers or not, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
absolutely different. And again, it's no one fits all, but it at the point that the behavior is changing, and at the point that everybody wanted to do Zoom, therapy, so much richness when you can do in person, so much okay. And
Yeah.
blink, blink. I don't need to ask any. Don't make it harder. Oh, but the rules say that no, it's okay. I'm flexible here. Or let me go to your house. Do you feel comfortable if I go to your house?
Mm.
And I just go and visit her in the house, which it feels like a visiting teacher. It's kind of like back in the days, right? Or the ministering, like, okay, I'm okay. Again, this resilience and feel uncomfortable, getting out of your comfort zone. I enjoy that. So I going to somebody else's house, I'm okay with that. Maybe not all the therapists are, but it's nothing compared to the places where I've been in Argentina. So like the worst problem may be finding a parking spot. So that's not a problem. I love those type of problems. Yeah.
I heard you say at one point, well, what rang through my mind as you were speaking was the phrase, when you are prepared, you shall not fear. That we talk about it, we plan for it, we understand that sometimes hard things happen to good people, but we don't have to live in the fear state, because we have that resilience and we have that understanding that more
Yeah. Yeah, and when you are in the fear state, it's like the hands. If you I took a neurosequential model of treatment, which is the brain development and when the trauma happened, and how it can be cured relationally. So it's beautiful thinking about if I have a person in front of me who is from the amygdala, fly, fight, or frozen, or freeze. Actually, that's let's breathe. Let's bring a person here, because I'm going to waste my hour of therapy if it's from the amygdala. I need a person in the prefrontal cortex, and it's going to take like 20 minutes. So having a person having to drive, the person doesn't have papers, afraid that maybe ICE is there, and there's also fear of the police now, because it's like, oh, I don't know, in my country I kind of, fully trust in the police, depending what country, depending the time of their lives that happen. But here I am. They both have uniforms. I don't know. Maybe it's the same situation. So that person, I prefer having a Zoom meeting or going to the person's house if it's safe, and the therapist also feel, because you want to be in the prefrontal cortex too. You don't want to be in the amygdala, like, oh, I don't know. I don't feel comfortable in somebody else's house. So I'm not saying do that 100% for sure. You have to do that. No. I'm saying if you feel comfortable, if it's clinically appropriate and you think it's the best, go ahead. But I have my own, talk therapy. It's my own thing. It's how I approach it. And in my experience, I feel it works.
Thank you for what you do. Clearly, you're advocating and blessing a lot of those that you serve. It's really
Thank
neat
you.
to see. Do you have a favorite scripture that guides your practice or that you
Ooh.
like to use that just philosophically?
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Because I have to choose. One is asking, "What's your favorite kid?" And I have 3 kids, so like,
You have
like,
3. Okay.
I always say, "What's your favorite kid?" It's the one I have in front of me. Blink, blink.
Oh.
Absolutely. So I like to meet the person where the person is. So
Mhm.
we're all children of God. And something that struck was Doctrine and Covenant 88. 19 actually talk about the earth fill the measure of its creation. And I'm not saying that people is earth, but we do have. I have a lot of people, especially without papers, why I had to be born in the wrong side.
Mm.
And it's like, how can you explain that we're children of God? God doesn't have limit, and yet the reality is it makes a very big difference in the time of going to work and the type of jobs you can have and how you grew up and the language you speak. So I like that approach. And also with Doctrine and Covenant 93, that this week about this, how Jesus was growing grace by grace and this progression. And I love, of course, I love the Book of Mormon, but also the great Gran Precio, the Pearls of Great Price, and how to have that perspective. Okay, I try to see first. I ask the person, "How do you feel? I know, you're referred from the bishop. Would you like me to bring scriptures or the gospel or your values? How did you?" Because if a person maybe it's in a faith crisis, like, I don't know what I'm doing in this life, why I'm here existentially. Oh, but this is you're a child of God. That is adding more to the fire. So I don't feel that it's a great thing where to start. However, we can say, "Okay, tell me more about that. Why is that?" So I like to have in mind, okay, let me and an honor and privilege to be part of helping you. What can be the fulfilledness of your creation? What are you here for? And that is, I would like to say, champagne problems is if it's a teenager like Taylor Swift, the singer. In the Mormon culture, champagne problems doesn't sound that good, no. But first world problem in a way. Again, it's something that when you're working from your amygdala, you're always fight or freeze. You don't have time to think why I'm here for. It's mission and vision is something that you find, of course, in PR, in business, and also in the American culture. In the Latino culture, when you're surviving, you're going to work to pay for roof and food. Like, they're like, what do I have to do? I have to just go to work. And I found those situations here too. And it's a value to be a hard worker. So bringing that, like, let's pause. What do you think? For one reason or another, you end up here, not just here in the US, but here in front of me in therapy. So maybe it's the right time. And be that piece of helping to see that person like Heavenly Father or Heavenly Mother will see. How do you think our Heavenly Parents will see you? How do you imagine your Heavenly Father is? Because I have a lot of people where the parents just left. So you don't have a father figure. How are you going to imagine a heavenly father figure? Like, I don't know. My father beat me when I was a kid. So, okay. So if you have that, most likely you have a heavenly father from the Old Testament, very revenge in a way, black and white. And so here you have a distortion of reality. You can use CBT under the table when you have that. In my CBT, hat, I took a class from Stanford here, Dr. Burns. It's always like, pay attention to the distortions of reality when the person is talking. So, mental note, here we have. So again, first asking where the person is. If they allow me, it's okay. And then we talk a little bit how the other person perceived religion. Maybe it was a convert, and the convert had to change all their life for this new. Maybe it was a person who was born and raised, and nobody ever asked you, you know, when do you change your life? When you grew up in the church. There's not the, oh, now I have a testimony. Okay, you can just continue going to church. It's just intrinsically you change something. But when did it happen? When you are already born and raised and several generations? I don't know. Let's be curious and with grace, like even Jesus Christ. Let's give grace to grace. We don't know it all. And most likely we're going to keep progressing after this, that's the idea, to become eventually like them. So let's see ourselves with Heavenly Parents' love. And sometimes it's very hard to talk about love when love, you didn't see it. The love, it was translated into beat or critical, kind of not positive parenting. So I try to also give a model of how self-love will look like, trying to model how, okay, it's true what you're saying, you can perceive you as that, but you can also perceive you can reframe. So let's start reframing that, knowing that they may never experience the Heavenly Parents' love, the ideal love, let's say. I don't want to, again, I cannot criticize my own culture, but it's there. A lot of cases, the concept of love is not the heavenly love and loving parent. It's very different of what we learn, what I learned in the program, in my master program, that they by default you have a good, you know what God love is, and not always.
Wow.
Another long answer, right? Like, you needed
There's
subtitles.
so much. There's so much meat in all of it. I want to pause and break it down and analyze every piece of it.
We need to do the summary. Okay, let's do Claudia in 1 minute. What did she say and all that? Blah, blah, blah. No, but there's a lot. Yeah.
The thought that came to me was, as a counselor, one of the ethics is to have unconditional positive regard for my clients, right? And how the clients that I work with have been in abusive relationships, and their definition of love is far different than what I see in the scriptures.
Yeah.
Sometimes my engagement as a therapist with unconditional positive regard is the first chance they've had where there's not this caveat in order to be respected. And it's this first glimpse in a different type of love, in a love that allows you to just be human and be flawed, and you don't have to be perfect. And so I found myself relating with me and my clients into what you were saying, of they might have a completely different experience of what love is, but we're all here. We're all in this children of God space, learning grace by grace, line upon line. And in session, it's one tiny little piece at a time.
And I thank you, Ashley. I don't want to, like, I have my, it's in my blood, the American, the Latino. I don't want to say all American, and it's a perspective that they hear a lot. Oh, you have it easy because you're from here. Like, wait a second. First, I'm not from here. I'm a white presenter, but in Argentina, everybody's white presenter pretty much. So, like, it's not that I was very unique. But I don't want to say all American people born and raised here had an easy life neither. I don't want to put everybody, because you go to church, that's it. You have the perfect love, like Liahona. I hope this doesn't. I don't want to be criticizing, but it's not. And now it's changing. Back in the days, it was, this is a perfect family looking, and like, okay, we will not have work if we were so good at everything with the family, right? Which I feel the same when I was a translator. Like, well, if you learn English, if I teach you English, that's it. I don't need work, but I will be happy not to have work. I will happy to do more positive, I don't know, positive psychology, or less talk about hobbies and what fulfill your life. But yeah, it's not a matter of if you're an immigrant, you have problems, and if you're born and raised here, you don't. You may have different challenge. If you came from, so in Silicon Valley, there's a lot of people coming for internship in the big IT companies. So imagine you came from the middle, you're the best of the best in your town, and then you come here, you're one more. On top of that, you may see a number of $100,000 per year, like, wow, it's an internship, and rent is like $3,000 per month. So you're right there for a small something. So like, what? I cannot even have my own apartment, my own house, and I have to do an apartment. Oh, yes. So that identity is not just when you change one country to another, but also can be the culture if I am in the countryside to the city, or if you are the other way around, you are here, you get tired of the noise of the city and you want to go somewhere else. And suddenly you have winter and it's actually cold. It's like, yes, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's all over. Yeah, I don't want to say, oh, Latinos have a lot of problems. Americans, no, we all
No.
have. Just
Because we're all just flawed humans living in a flawed world and
absolutely,
taking our own
absolutely.
lens and trying to be somewhere else. Yeah.
Yes,
You
yes. And how
do.
do we do that?
Yeah.
And you know what? Sorry, I keep talking, right? It's going to be like part 2, part 3. Like, sorry. What I like to do, and I have hard cases, and I had to say, this is hard for me to digest. So your husband wants to be with your wife and with your lover, and your wife are okay with that? I cannot have positive regard fully. I cannot buy it. It's like they say no. I'm a human being. So let me tell you, I'm having kind of negative emotions here. Like let's, so I model that it's okay.
Mm.
And I'm not perfect. So just modeling that, whoopsie, so I had to ask you again. I missed that. I disconnect when you say that, you want, XYZ, or what you did, that. It's not, it's your path. Thank you for sharing. Very vulnerable. For me, it's heavy. And it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay not to be perfect. It's okay, my hair, look at this. I could have done a better job. But if I cannot model that it's okay to not be okay. As a parent too. Imagine any therapist or any parent. If I want to show like it's all perfect, like the Barbie house, dream house. I was watching with one of my girls. It's a Barbie dream house, and they have a button where the kitchen, they bring you the food already beautiful, and then another button to clean it up in the cartoons. And I was laughing. And my kids like, why are you laughing so hard? Because it's a dream house. I love that idea of touching a button and the kitchen is perfectly clean. And sometimes I feel, and this is a cartoon, right? But I feel, and I don't like Barbie. I didn't grow up with Barbie, so it's not my favorite, but which for my kid is a trauma in itself. But anyways, going back to the point, she was like, are you that poor? Like, oh, I was reaching friendships, going to, outside, but no, I did not have Barbies, and it's okay. But sometimes we feel that we have the life, or as a therapist, you're going to tell me that you're cheating your wife, and I have to be okay with that. Like, as a woman, I would be, I don't know. I'm not that okay with that. And your idea of expecting her that be okay as you have a double life, no, I need to breathe to be more neutral here, because I will be about therapy trying to hold neutrality where, let me break. Now we continue. Let me be curious with rational compassion. I cannot be in your shoes. I'm not a man. So I had to be aware of that too, my blind spot.
I think that's such an important skill to have, being aware of where you're at, pausing if you need it, making sure you set an example of what it looks like to disagree, but also stay in that curious space. And if we need to break to get there.
Yeah. That is from my Argentine part, I think. It's not the California politically correct, like when somebody's like, oh yeah, we've been seeing each other like a year, but there were no sex. I don't buy it. I know. It's horrible. In grad school, the program, like positive, regard no matter what. And it's like, no. I said, okay, no, that's true.
Yeah.
But again, I can do that with Latinos and Spanish. In English, that's where the competency can, right? I can be curious and culturally humility apply, but I don't feel that I cannot read the clues of an American man or an Asian or other cultures. I have to, that one I attach to the handbook there and say, okay.
Yeah. Do you do any kind of consultation or training or presenting for individuals who want to be more culturally humble and apply that into their own practices for other mental health professionals?
So I thought about that. Actually, I was writing my second book, which is because I'm working in my calling. It's like the second time I'm in the state, in Relief Society presidency, and I'm always supporting Latino world. And I found also when I was working in family services, and I have the bishop. When the bishop is from an American background, there's a lot of big gaps there. And one of them is not see how strong the person is. This person left everything behind for a better future for herself and her family, or his family. What makes you think that that is a problem for her? Like, what's start from there? And so I started writing a book, and somebody mentioned that. They're like, why don't you do a class? It's like, okay, I'm maybe on demand. If I have enough people who is interested, more than happy to create something and bring my training background. I was training of trainers in the airlines in headquarters, so I love it. I would love to.
And how could people who are interested in that get in contact with you?
Well, in the LDS Kappa website, I'm there, Claudia Auxier, Cloud Therapy. Let's Babo, I opened a company also to do mental health consultation with organizations around the Bay Area in California and schools. So that's a different animal, but through that, I also do some trainings.
Very nice.
Thank you for asking. Thank you, Ashley.
Thanks
And of course, I want to see everybody in October.
Yeah.
I'm going to the state for general conference. So we have a full conference week. It's going to be a week.
Yes.
And thank you. Thank you for making right connected to general conference for the people who's coming from far away.
Yeah, that was good timing. Do you have any last questions or comments, Kim?
No, this has been wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for
Are you
what
wondering how do you talk too much in a therapy? I'm not a Zen therapy. If you didn't guess by now, if you're looking for a Zen therapist, that's not me. I had to refer you out somewhere else, but here I am. There's always one.
So delightful to just chat with you today and to hear and feel your passion for the work and to learn things. As you were talking, I found myself applying it to this former client that I had, going, oh, I wish I had known this so that I could reach her in her culture in a way that I didn't understand before. So thank you so much. I really
Absolutely. Anytime, any moment. Thank you.